Social media comments from parents of some UMass Amherst students caught our attention. They're concerned about possible sicknesses going around campus.
Western Mass News reporter Reagan Stoddard joins us live in studio after getting answers from the university.
Abby and Chris, some parents are concerned after hearing about cases of pneumonia and whooping cough among students, so I checked in with University Health Services to find out what they're seeing.
As the seasons begin to change and we see the temperatures drop, more often than not, illnesses begin to rise, especially on college campuses. At UMass Amherst, one junior tells us students are showing symptoms.
Definitely now that the cold is starting, just changes in temperature, allergies too, a lot of seasonal allergies. But I'd say, yeah, just mostly when school is starting, when everyone gets back, and then when the cold is starting.
Another student says she has begun to notice fewer kids in class as well.
I think the last few weeks people have been getting sick, and then I only know that because sometimes people don't show up to class, or like today one of my teachers canceled because they weren't feeling too well.
We took questions raised by concerned parents on social media about possible cases of pneumonia and whooping cough among students to the University Health Services medical director. Dr. Yvonne Correa tells Western Mass News what they are seeing right now.
In terms of increasing the number of whooping cough or pneumonia or viral infections, not necessarily. It has been, it's a typical year when it comes to that.
But he does say allergy-related illnesses are on the rise.
Typically at this time of the year, we do see an increase of allergies, and this year in particular, because of the higher temperatures at the end of the summer, beginning of the fall.
University Health Services recommends the following for students suffering from allergies: to use a regimen of antihistamines and over-the-counter medicine, staying indoors if possible, especially during the morning, to get plenty of sleep, and to stay hydrated.
The University Health Center urges students who feel sick to either schedule an appointment or to walk in for medical attention. Their hours are Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. and 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. Reporting live in studio, Reagan Stoddard, Western Mass News.